Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Deidre. Today, I'm conversing about hoarding with professional organizer, life coach, and friend of the show, Linda. Now, most of us have seen the TV show or know someone who hoards. According to the American Psychiatric Association, hoarding disorder affects approximately 2 to 6% of the US population. It is now classified as a distinct mental health condition. Welcome back, Linda.
Hi, thank you for having me back. I'm so excited to be here and talk about hoarding.
Most definitely. All right, Linda, we're going to jump right in. What are some of the most common reasons people develop hoarding tendencies?
Oh, wow. When it comes to hoarding, a lot of people that I've actually that was going to be a form of comfort to them. It was something that they felt real familiar with because either they went through some type of traumatic experience or else just trying to take on different things that their families may have left for them. And so then they just want to keep them as comfort. And it all of a sudden it ends up turning into more things that they're trying to keep for more comfort or trying to mask any other type of issue that they may go on. But unfortunately, a lot when it comes to hoarding, it becomes so bad that it becomes part of a mental health issue. Then that's when we have to bring other people in.
Okay. Now, can hoarding be inherited or is it more of a learned behavior from the family environment?
Actually, it can be both because a lot of people I work with, it's actually been a hereditary thing. You know, they've had their parents may have hoarded something, their grandmother may have hoarded something, and it just gets passed down. But I've also seen people where it had just become an issue, like for instance, for people who may be homeless at one point in time, and then they get back on their feet, and then they start to hoard things like food or clothes because they didn't have it for an extended amount of time. So next thing you know, they're constantly buying things and they're building up in their house because what happens if it happens again? And then all of a sudden they're left with nothing. So hoarding is both inherited and also is a learned behavior that I see a lot.
Okay. Now, how do you differentiate between collecting and hoarding?
Oh wow, that's a very good question because there's that little fine line that's like right there between collecting and hoarding. When we think about collections and we see about different shows about people who collect teacups or baby dolls and things like that. The difference with collecting is because those collecting items are actually things that are worth a value. Whereas hoarding, it may come from pizza boxes, it may come from old clothes that people months once wore before, or little trinkets of cars that they may have when they were little. When you think of collecting, always think of things that are worth more of value. Like if something were to happen and there was an unseen, that you're actually able to take it and take it and get money out of it. Whereas hoarding is something that just lies around in the house and there's no value to it except for what the person may have value for it personally.
Okay. All right. Is there a specific event or trigger that typically pushes someone from being disorganized to becoming a hoarder?
Actually, there is. When it comes to a trigger that may happen, it could be someone that went through personal trauma. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could be a loss of a job that may even have someone become a hoarder. So those are the different triggers that I know that I have dealt with personally when working with people who are in the process of getting organized, and they also have also been in that tendency of becoming hoarders. Those are usually the main triggers that I usually see. But one out of the ordinary one is just someone that is really looking to reinvent themselves, which is a very odd one. Because what happens is that as you try to reinvent yourself, you're trying to hold on all the things that you have of the past, and you can become a hoarder with those things instead of releasing them and entering into a season in your life.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, what are some of the emotional or psychological needs that hoarding fulfills for people?
Oh man, this is a really good one too. And I think even as women, it's a form of protection that we have. You know, women, especially Black women, are really what they say is one of the most unprotected sexes that we have out there. And so I do know a lot of women who hoard on to a lot of things. I know I may get some things when it comes to this, but we have shoes, we have purses, we have all kinds of different things. Kitchen appliances is also one thing that I felt that when some women have had with hoarding. And this usually they want that protection that is around them. It's always gonna make them safe as a woman mentally, emotionally, physically. Those are the things that we do emotionally is just we just to be protected, something to make us feel nice, to make us feel feminine, someone that's gonna make us just feel rewarding when it comes to emotional responses. So always look, I always check for that because that's one of the questions that I do have for women when working with me is that have you ever been in a situation where you have not felt protected?
Right.
Because that is a vital point when it comes to getting a clear path to get you on the road of getting organized.
That is so true. Yes. Okay. Now, Linda, can hoarding ever be linked to trauma, or how does that connection manifest in people's behavior?
Well, yes, definitely. When it comes to behavior, absolutely, trauma can lead to people to want to hold on to things as a way to avoid the loss or a pain. So
Okay.
think about it when it comes to like Barbie dolls or things like that. Women have a tendency to hold on to some of those things because it is something that takes away from the pain and the loss that they had. So think of this more
Right.
like an avoidance mechanism. So you want to go out and you want to purchase those things because you don't want to deal with what's happening at home. And COVID was a perfect example of some things that happened to a lot of women when it came to that. For some women, going to work was their safe haven. When COVID hit, we are at home. We were
Right.
all sheltered in. And so at that point, it was like, well, where do I go? To have to get away from the pain and the loss. Because during that time, we found out a lot of women were in domestic violence situations. And going to work was a form of, hey, I'm out of this situation for 8 hours, 10 hours, or however long that they were at work. And then now we have women are in the home at this particular point, and they're head on, face to face, mirror to mirror with the situations that were going on. So when it comes to hoarding, women have that tendency to like, I just want to go retail shopping.
Right.
And I talk about that a lot. I just want to go shopping to take away from the pain because I don't want to have to deal with this, whatever's going on at home with my kids, with my man, whatever else is going on. They just want to avoid it. And that's one thing that women have a tendency or a behavior that kind of shifts everything over into hoarding.
Okay. All right. Now, how do you handle a client who's emotionally attached to items that are clearly unnecessary or harmful to their living space?
Oh, this is good. Being in this particular field, we have to have a whole lot of empathy and a whole lot of compassion
Yeah.
because I've been in a situation before where I've had to like reorganize my life and get myself out of things. So when dealing with other women and also some men at some point who have called, it's a whole lot of compassion because we always look on the outside because things may look all bright and pretty, but behind the scenes, there may be a whole lot of hoarding that's going on. And we want to be able to lead with compassion, with grace, because we understand that there is something that is going on that this magnificent woman is going through that's stopping her from fulfilling her purpose. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually either mental or physical clutter. And once we're able to get through those processes and have the compassion with them of understanding and I get exactly what you're going through and being able to talk them through this, then at that point things are released and then they're able to really usher themselves into a really great path of success.
All right. Now, Linda, how does hoarding impact families? And what advice do you have for family members who live with or love someone who is a hoarder?
The stress that comes with this is a lot. It becomes stress because one, it becomes an unhealthy environment, especially if it's a hoarder that does with food, even just with physical items, because the home becomes very cluttered. You're not able to walk. You're not able to have quality air that's circulating in the home. So that's one thing. So the family becomes stressed. And of course, it comes to arguments that may happen. And so when you're dealing with a family member that's in this process of getting, that's becoming a hoarder, it's at that time, the moment that you see it, it's time to stop. And it can be very hard because you want them to do whatever they want to do. But when it's affecting the family unit, then that's when you have to say, okay, let's find some help, some guidance, some resources that's going to help us get out of that. Because the one thing about the family unit is that I love for it to be intact. We want it to be solid. We want it to be healthy. Because once the household itself is healthy and the hoarding or the disorganization stops, then you would actually see the family start to flourish. The kids are going to behave. The kids are going to be doing the work because they're adapting to different schedules. The kids are starting to learn how to be organized and avoid those behaviors and those habits that can cause hoarding in the household. So the things that I do believe that when it comes to a family, we have to be able to see it, lead with it, have a communication method with it, and then we decide to take some action, whether it's themselves or it's getting a professional involved like myself.
Most definitely. All right. Now, what are some gentle strategies for family members trying to encourage a loved one to get help for their hoarding?
I think they just really have to have a really good soft conversation with them.
Mm.
It's easy to turn into the why are you doing this and this doesn't make any sense. That's not the attitude that we want to lead with. We want to be able to lead with a very gentle conversation of is there anything that I can help you with? Is there anything that you're going through that we may be able to talk through? What's happening at work is what's happening, with friends or other family members. Those conversations have to be very gentle and it has to be very impactful with very leading questions that allow the person to open up and tell them exactly what's going on.
You know, I'm going to say that that sounds easier said than done, Linda. And I know you're the expert. That's why you're giving us this great advice, this sage wisdom on this. But I can only imagine because seeing that TV show and when, people walk into those homes and they see all of that, I'm like, whoa, that is overwhelming. Linda, so how do hoarding tendencies affect a person's mental health aside from the clutter itself?
Anxiety, depression, and it can also be within different type of isolation. And I usually try to focus on the isolation because like anything that happens in life, when you think that you're the only person that's going through it,
Right.
then that causes the mentality of the person to kind of decline very quickly. And then remember, it's not just about the physical clutter, it's about the mental clutter, it's the physical clutter and the clutter that creates. So think about it. Imagine waking up every single morning and you're overwhelmed by the things that are in your house. And we're not talking about, oh, I need to like tidy up here because it's been a rough week, or a week where everyone's been busy. We're talking about mounds and mounds of clothes or food or things or stuff, that's in your house. And you immediately become overwhelmed because you have no help in trying to get that taken care of. And so once again, there's the whole behaviors and the mindset that starts to come on and I don't know how to get help or how am I going to get this done? Then you become infatuated with trying not to hoard and then needing things in order for you to live and then knowing that you're going to need some type of help. So mentally, your health, it really does start to decline very fast. So those are some of the tendencies when it comes to the mental health side of it. But I'll tell anyone, speak with your doctor if you feel you're even thinking of having those type of thoughts so that way you can have like something covered by your insurance where it's a therapist or someone that's a professional organizer like myself or a life coach that deals with organization that we're able to come in and help you kind of get out of that mental jump rope and get you on the right path.
All right. So, what's the most unusual or surprising item you've seen someone hoard?
Let's see. I've had a lot. Let's see. I've had a lot. But the main
Okay.
one, yeah, the pizza boxes. I walked into a room, I was called in to help a therapist, as a matter of fact. And the gentleman had pizza boxes everywhere. We're talking about that was full of pizza boxes
And
because one
so,
that he had became depressed.
okay, so are we talking about pizza boxes where, they're empty? Or are we talking about pizza boxes with pizza crumbs still in them?
It was both, some that were empty and some that still had pizza in there, which causes other health issues because there's food laying around. Yeah, so you have those type of environments that have come in. I've had one where they've asked me to put on a hazmat suit because it was very bad in there because there was just food everywhere, different insects that were starting to come into the home, and then the person themselves was starting to decline because that's how bad that situation had gotten. But once again, leading with compassion and being able to kind of like stop myself because it's a whole lot to walk into, being overwhelmed yourself, but then having to have the person feel overwhelmed that there's additional people in their home touching their stuff. So the pizza boxes was something that was very interesting, but having to put on a hazmat suit to go into someone's home to help them, that one was a very interesting, will definitely go down in the books.
God bless you, Linda. And let me just say this, the reason why I asked about the pizza box is because, there are people like, okay, I may work at a local pizza restaurant so I'll just take boxes home and all of that. But to have eaten the pizza and still have crumbs, like you said, that causes a whole another set of issues. Oh, okay. Now, do you
Mhm.
ever come across items that you secretly want to keep for yourself but don't?
Oh my goodness, even when it comes for myself. Okay, so I am a self-proclaimed lipstick holic. I love lipsticks. I really do. And I have to find myself and kind of capture myself and be like, okay, Linda, you teach this, you have to practice what you teach.
Right.
And then there are times where I'm like, oh, I just need maybe a couple of more of them. And I may get them, but then I also have to be like, okay, I'm not using this one. Let me go ahead and throw it out or give it away to a friend who's like, oh, I love that color. Well, here. So for me, it's lipsticks, where some of the things I have to like, let me breathe because I want one. And I love the Fenty line. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
those things that even
Okay.
yeah.
So, in your experience, is there a common or favorite item that most hoarders tend to hold on to, like old magazines, Tupperware lids, um, and yeah, sans the pizza boxes?
No more pizza boxes,
Right.
but I am going to say Tupperware. I don't know what it is with Tupperware. It's them lids that just fall off everywhere. Everyone keeps buying the Tupperware over and over and over again. It's Tupperware lids. They're everywhere. Any home that I've went into, and no matter what the income range has been, there's been Tupperware. But it's always the lids. They're lids, they're been microwaved, they're faded. Tupperware lids are the things that people mostly hoard onto. After that, it's usually magazines, even though that we're in a digital age. So people
Right.
are still getting magazines or have them from the past that they don't want to give away. So those are the two things that I know that people always are going to be having when it comes to starting the hoarding process.
Okay. Now, Linda, what's your go-to motivational speech when trying to convince someone to part with their 1998 VHS collection?
Oh, a VHS tape. At first, I usually would ask them, like, well, are you really looking at this? Or do you have the device to watch this on? 9 times out of 10, there is a device, but it doesn't work. So
Right.
I kind of lead with that whole process. And I say, we can also take the VHS tapes, and we can make them digital now. And then that's when they're like, oh, really? Well, yeah. So that way that you're able to watch them in this day and age, whether it's your kids, the old when they were videotaping their kids back in the day, or some shows that may have happened back in the day and they purchased the VHS. So we kind of lead in with that. Like, does the device really work? And if it doesn't work, let's kind of guide you into making them digital. And then we'll just set them up with someone that can make that transition for them.
Yes, because I know someone who still owns a camcorder. Okay. So now, how do you
Oh, wow.
break, yes, how do you break the overwhelming task of decluttering into manageable steps for someone who's hoarding?
Oh, it's one space at a time. I am the organizer that would tell you do not try to go in and do your whole house in a day. I am that person. Some people have, and I get that. Like they wake up in the morning, the music's going, they had some coffee or whatever, and they're on the roll and they're starting to, get their whole house decluttered. I tell people if you want a lasting foundation of becoming organized and moving out of the hoarding process, we have to take it one step at a time, one space at a time, because then you're able to concentrate on that one space, see if it stays organized for about another week or two, and then you'll build your confidence up. And as your confidence builds, you're like, hey, I got this. Then let's move on to the next space. Because going in and just trying to clear out a hole without professional help, it can be very overwhelming. You're going to end up yourself right back where you were before because you haven't decided to learn the new behaviors or habits that are needed in order for you to move out of the hoarding process and to get organized.
All right. Now, what role does life coaching play in helping a hoarder overcome their attachment to material things?
For life coaching comes into play, we have to find out why this is happening. Why is it that you're starting to hoard? And once we get to the root of that process, then we're able to kind of streamline and actually work on the behaviors and mentality of being organized. And a lot of people do not know. They're like, oh, well, I just need someone to just come in and organize my home. And that'll be great, but then I would do myself undue justice if I'm just going to organize your home and not help coach you into the mentality that's needed and the behaviors and the habits that's going to keep you organized. So that's always going to be my goal, is to always make sure that I'm going to coach you, that you're going to be able to learn those processes. You're going to learn what it's like to organize, and you're going to learn what to do if you find yourself moving back into the process of this organization. So that's a very play when it comes to life coaching. A lot of people don't know about organize, like, oh, they're just organizing the home. No, we have to coach you as well, because our goal is to retain clients, and to also know that our skills that we put into this and our gifts is that you're going to get and you're going to stay organized.
Right. Okay. Now, what's the doesn't realize their hoarding is a problem?
We have to be very honest with them. You know, like any coaching or like a friend that you may have, we have to be completely honest with what they have. And if they don't realize that they do not have a problem, we got to show them the impact that it's going to make in their lives. For instance, if you have a friend and she's starting to hoard, let's say clothes. She was homeless at one point, and she's now buying a whole lot of clothes because at one point in time she only had one outfit to put on at that point. So if you see, like, hey, friend, I've noticed that you're starting to, have a whole lot of clothes. Is there any reason why? Were you going shopping now? Is something different? Did you get a new job? And let them tell you what the reason is that this is happening. And you also have to look for those clues, like, I'll never give this away. Or no, like, or no, friend, we have to be able to kind of draw this line on where this retail therapy is coming from. Why are you having so much? And also, once again, being gentle, even though sometimes it can be hard, because I've had to be a little bit impactful myself in my tone to get someone who was who didn't want to give away anything. But we always have to leave with some type of gentle compassion with them, with your friend, in order to let them know that their health is involved, their mentality is hard, their jobs can be at stake, their relationships can be at stake as well.
Most definitely. Now, is it ever possible to completely cure someone of hoarding, or is it a lifelong process of management?
Once someone has actually been a hoarder, it's always going to be a management. There is no cure to it whatsoever. Just like there's no cure for anything that usually does happen in our world. The thing is to have the right management tools, resources, and the support system that's going to help you stay out of that process. Now, with anything that happens, life can throw a lot of things at you, and you may be on the cusp of going back into that process. But we always have to remember the tools that were given to us. To have worked with me, I'm always going to give you some resources that you're going to be able to keep, whether it's a text line or email, or even if you do need to see me in person. A couple of weeks ago, someone flew me out because they were having that problem. So you have to be able to be like, no, there is no cure. Just take the tools that will be able to help you manage and stay where you are, which is out of the hoarding process.
Yes. Okay, Linda. What small organizational habits can people adopt to prevent hoarding before it even starts?
Do you really need this? We're in a world where consumption is just a all-time high. Everyone's always purchasing, purchasing, purchasing things. So you always have to stop and ask yourself, do I really need this? Something at home that's going to be able to do the same thing for me. I'm a big component when it comes to like kitchenware.
Yeah.
We have so many different things. Why are we using air fryers? They may be easier, but we may still have the skills in order to cook, or you're going to have to decide whether I'm just going to cook and not have an air fryer. So we have to look at those different things of like, do I really need it? Yes or no. And then if it's a no, then go ahead and just either walk past it, give it away, or just completely walk out of the store completely, because that may be like one of the most feasible things that you can do. So always ask yourself, when you're in need of something, is there something already in my home that I have that's already doing this purpose for me?
Okay. Now, Linda, I know you talked about your lipstick obsession, but if you had hoarder tendencies, what would you hoard?
Oh, if I had hoarding tendencies, what would it be? It would be hair care products.
Okay.
It would be like, being a natural girly, let me tell you, the hair care products and making sure that things are curled, make things are laid down, make sure the hair is dyed. It would be hair care products would be my thing. But they would be
Nice.
organized nicely though in a cabinet or something.
Well, I think you speak for a lot of us. So I just want to say thank you so much, Linda. It was such a pleasure having you back because we want to keep our lives organized. I'm definitely trying to be a minimalist myself. I don't need a bunch of clutter because, like you said, clutter in your mind, clutter. I just don't need all of that. And Erica Badu said it best, bag lady with her song. So we just want to kind of just, have some balance in our lives. Where can people connect with you, follow you, or, engage with you?
Oh my goodness, this is going to be a great. I want you to engage with me. You can actually find me on Facebook under the Linda L. Eubanks, and I'm recently now on TikTok, so you get to see me do a whole lot of videos there. And that too is under the Linda L. Eubanks. And you can also visit me on my website, of course, which is at Linda L. Eubanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda. We will definitely be checking you out on TikTok, Facebook, and your website.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. And safe travels. I know you're away right now.
Thank you so much, and have a
uh
great time.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Remember, self-love is sexy. Be selfish in your love for self and selfless in your love for others. If you enjoyed this video, like it. If you found it useful and want to see more, subscribe. If it pertains to someone you know, share it. And if you have an opinion, leave a comment. A conscious heart will do all four. Thank you.